Off we go. Hi, Richard.
Hi, friend. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much. How are you?
Great.
Excellent. Um, Today we have an absolutely fascinating topic because how technology evolved. This is our Technology Tuesday, so we talk mostly about technology and so how technology evolved today. And there's a lot of hype every time there is evolution, and but it's very difficult to cha- to distinguish where the things are going. So it's a lot of noise, and then at the end, what is the real thing and what is going to stick or what is not going to stick. So the title today is the system engagement models, and so we are looking at how humans engage with computer systems specifically. So
Mm,
over the decades, the ways we work with technology have changed very dramatically, particularly in the
mhm.
last, I don't know, 30 years. With each shift, um, the expectations have shifted. From the early days right up to now, engagement models have shaped how we think about productivity, professionalism, and also usability. So,
Mhm.
but history also shows something else, which is every new model of engagement faces resistance at first, like everything new,
Yeah.
we are going to go through all of that, but actually we don't want to give it too much away just now. But what seemed unnecessary or unprofessional or even like a toy often ended up as
Yeah.
becoming the standard. And
Very
we're
true.
going to
Yeah.
walk through that too. So in this session, we'll walk through how engagement models have evolved, the resistance they have faced, what's coming next, and how that future is shaping the system we are building today. Because pretty much what is done today probably the next adoption tomorrow. Uh, so I'm guessing that the first question is a bit of history. How have engagement models evolved over time?
Okay. Well, I don't know if you were involved in computers at all prior to when everything was command line. Now we're talking about batch processing. That was the
Yeah,
50s and 60s. That's where it began, but it carried over for quite some time. That was punch cards or
right.
scripts,
Yeah,
right? And you used to stack them up, and you would basically wait hours or days. There was no real interaction with the computer, just the punch cards, and then you would load them, and they would run through, and the computer would process them, right?
yeah,
That was the batch processing. Not a
yeah.
lot of fun by today's standards. Then in the from the 60s to the 80s, you had a lot of CLI, command line interfaces, right? Where you would type commands into a terminal. You would know what commands to type. There was,
Yeah.
you had to learn them all. It was powerful, but it required a heck of a lot of memorization to know what all the commands were, right?
Right.
And people used to have whole binders full of, command references and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and have to do them in order, et cetera, et cetera. Not really usually friendly, but the outputs and the computing power, was quite high. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the 80s, 90s, they came out early 80s, I'd say, with the GUI, the graphical user interface.
Right.
And I remember when those things came out. Um, that's when you had the windows and icons and
Right.
menus made, and selections and buttons and stuff like that, right? And that basically made using a computer visual and accessible to the everyman, right?
Yeah.
You get into the 90s to the 2010s, and you started to get web and mobile apps.
Right.
Systems moved into the browser and smartphones and work from anywhere kind of concepts.
Yeah.
Also, in around 2006, 2007 onward, touch and gesture started to be important, like the iPhone era, right? The swipe,
Right.
the pinch, the drag, intuitive, embodied interactions,
Right.
with your devices, right? In around 2010, started to come the concept of chatbots. Now, these were scripted conversations, right?
Right.
Clunky, but a step toward natural language processing. Yeah.
Mm.
In around 2015, now we add in the voice assistants, right?
Yeah.
Siri, Alexa, Google, hands-free stuff, but mostly command-based.
Right.
And then we get to, the present days, right? Which is where a lot of platforms have integrated AI assistants, right? They've
Yeah.
surfaced some chat GPT, or you see Copilot,
Yeah.
in your browser, or, and that's natural language. It involves context,
Right.
and insight generation and stuff like that. Now, the vast majority of people are still using that kind of engagement model of AI assistants as like an advanced Google search, right?
Right.
More than anything else. That's the most common way of engaging it, is asking it simple questions, or asking it to search for things, that kind of stuff. But it's
Right.
capable of a heck of a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And well, I think we'll leave it off there in terms of the history. Everything
Right.
from punch cards to now AI assistants helping you
Yeah.
perform tasks. And then we'll talk later on, about what's next and
Right.
and where we're at. Yeah.
So in all these, so there are, we are talking about from the 50s to
Mm.
today's. So how many, like almost 70 years, 75 years or so. So in those this chunk, oh, it seems that every decade is something new happening that actually revolutionize whatever happened before. So what
Yeah,
was
that's
the,
speeding up. It,
yeah.
it used
Yeah,
to
it's
be
true.
every 10 years, but now it's starting to evolve every 2 and 5
Every
years.
two
Yeah,
or three
that kind
years,
of,
that's true, yeah.
yeah.
And but so then the interesting question here is what resistance uh, was there along the way on each of these, let's say, pikes of technology that was
Oh, without doubt, at every step, there's resistance.
right. Yeah.
You can guarantee it. The best example I can point out to is, would be within my personal experience, because I
Right.
was, around when this was going on. And that was when graphical user interfaces came out in the 80s,
Yeah.
um, especially for accounting systems, because prior to that, they were very, they were all command line driven, that kind of thing, right? Now
Yeah.
out comes this pretty interface. And it was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But purists, and accountants and stuff like that, they still stuck to it. They believed real work
Yeah.
happens via command line, right?
Right.
And there were many accountants that were rejecting the GUIs that were being presented, um, in accounting software, as it being, like, too pretty to be serious,
Right. Right.
too easy to be dependable. It was a really interesting phenomenon. Eventually, of course, as everybody knows nowadays, that became the norm, right?
Yeah.
It was the same. It was the same in the 90s when web apps started to come out, especially larger enterprises. They dismissed
Yeah.
all of that as being insecure. The
Right.
cloud? No, 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 absolutely no cloud for us. Thank you very much. We would rather build our own server room,
Yeah.
uh, and try to keep up with how Microsoft manages security and fire protection and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then you've got mobile. There was resistance to that. Critics saying that ERP and business tools were too complex for a phone.
Right.
Now,
Right.
maybe when it was a Motorola flip phone, that was true,
Yeah.
but nowadays it's no longer true, and
Yeah.
it's become a norm. We talked in another session about digitally native workforce, right?
Yes.
And they're sitting in that space. They're not criticizing mobile tools for ERP and business tools. In fact, it's their expectation nowadays.
Expectation.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Chatbots and stuff like that have always kind of been mocked as being like toys, versus serious business tools. And AI today, some feel it's almost, too human, not professional,
Right.
right? And it's something that's kind of interesting to play with or use in your personal life, but not as much in the professional space now. There's a lot of companies that are starting to surface some AI assistants. And in the area of CRM,
Mm.
there's chatbots, engagement
Yeah.
models, and stuff like that. So it's moving along very, very quickly. But
Yeah.
mainstream, no. And there's a lot of detractors right now.
Yeah.
Just like the GUI and accounting systems in the 80s, you get a lot of people who just don't want to, they don't want to take it seriously as a
Yeah.
productivity and a professional tool. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, and it also reminds me now that now a lot of offerings now they are using WhatsApp with AI, like for lead generation and first engagement, and then before transferring that qualified lead into CRM to a real person to do the talking. And but in terms of adoption, both sides are some they are looking at for in terms of efficiency and cost effects, cost efficiencies, but also the leads are saying, I'm realizing that it's not a person on the other side; it's just AI typing, and
Mm.
they feel like how lazy in brackets is this company that they don't even bother to put a person to do the talking, but it's all about adoption because I guess at one point all these first interactions, machine and person or AI and person, will start until the person manifests the real interest in a product or service, and then we'll go into the real person, which is seems to be
Well,
the
it's interesting that you raised that specific
yeah,
issue. That was the same criticism of a GUI button. Being able to
right,
click a button was not considered, that's lazy.
yeah,
You should have to memorize all
yeah,
of these commands.
right, right,
That's what you're supposed to do for a serious accounting system. You should
yeah,
memorize all of this stuff.
right,
Clicking a button, that's just lazy, not
yeah.
professional at all.
So and what will be the next step beyond just today's AI assistants then?
The next step is really interesting.
Right,
Um, and that would be true AI conversational engagement.
right,
Okay. That's basically engaging with an AI, on a human conversation level.
right,
Just imagine an AI that knew everything about your business, all your data,
yeah,
and stuff like that. And you're having a conversation with it. And that would be your go-to. That you start with the conversation. If that's not appropriate, you might go to a text-based conversation. If that's not quite right, or the task doesn't allow it, that you might go to, the fallback would be a graphical user interface rather than a typical, application screen where you can click the assistant button. It would
yeah,
be AI conversational model first
right,
as the go-to default engagement method,
yeah,
because AI in that particular situation is context aware. It's no longer a scripted command,
right, right,
um, previous models and stuff. It's getting very, very advanced, right?
mm,
Um, and AI systems properly developed, they remember everything about you and your expectations across
right,
sessions. They don't
right,
just forget in
yeah,
between engagements. Um, they understand intent, not just commands.
right,
And it, basically, the idea is that the AI acts more as a partner
right,
in engaging with your business information,
yeah,
not just tools. And we've always talked about that, data is one thing, information that you can use for decision support is something else.
right,
So let's assume that AI conversational engagement is not going to be about surfacing data. It's going
right,
to be about surfacing and discussing with an AI, model,
right,
the information and the decisions that you're trying to make, and getting
right,
decision support directly from something that is behaving, very human like.
yeah. So that's very interesting because you mentioned two things that actually they are not often mentioned in terms of AI, which is context and intent.
Mm,
Because actually most of the time is oh, do prompt, do prompting, but I think actually there are layers that they are is like everything. Like 80% of the use and the 20% are using correctly that move that 80%, which is what we are talking about here. So that context and intent identification is what it makes the thing work better.
Mhm.
So how we spoke about evolution, and so how this connect then to what we are building in Trinity, or what you are building now in the lab.
Well, I can say that we actually plan on introducing AI first conversational engagement as the default user interface for
Right.
Trinity version 5.0.
Wow. All
We're
right.
building it now. That's going to be AI conversation model first.
Right.
Typewritten text engagement would be the
Yeah.
fallback when voice isn't practical.
Yeah.
And of course, for the people who insist on it, there's the graphical UI. But sometimes that'll be appropriate for like power users and complex workflows and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You're still going to want the graphical UI. That's always going to be there. The database will still be there. The interface will still be there, but the engagement level, we're going to add on that AI first conversational engagement. And it's really very, very exciting.
Yeah. So that means I will be um when you say voice engagement, will it be able to request actions or execute commands,
Yeah,
or it's just
yeah.
a kind of a Siri type this, Siri like
No, no, no. This is the big leap. This is the
right,
this is the quantum leap, right? Voice in Trinity 5.0 isn't just about asking questions.
right,
It's about driving actions, right?
all right,
For example, telling it to schedule an audit, telling it to approve a purchase order, or asking it for any risks that you missed out documenting.
right,
Basically the system, and it's not like the typical ChatGPT engagement. It
right,
knows your data. It
right.
also has a machine learning layer, right? So
Oh
it
wow.
it
Yeah,
knows what's going on in your business. It knows your workflows. It knows your risks. It knows
right,
your
right,
strategies. It knows your controls. It knows your business model, et cetera, et cetera. And it's able to remember all of this stuff across sessions for multiple users, et cetera. Um, that starts to get pretty smart, and
yeah,
it can generate outcomes and execute activity,
right,
right? So it, as opposed to you going in and doing some data entry and clicking in action, you can command it, to perform certain activities.
right,
And there's confirmations and stuff like that. Security gets checked. You can't ask it to do things you don't have the security to do. It won't tell you data that you're not allowed to see, et cetera, et cetera. So it really starts to get interesting. Um, but that as an engagement model, that's the future. I
right.
believe that's the next level. And right now we're at I guess we'd call it the bleeding edge of it.
Yeah,
Those first GUIs that came out that became ubiquitous for applications was all
yeah,
graphical user interfaces everywhere. I believe that's going to be uh, the common engagement model. So you've
right.
got your digitally native workforce that we talked
Yeah,
about previously.
yeah, yeah,
There will be an emerging AI first
yeah,
workforce that they've never used a GUI. They've used AI,
yeah, yeah. Well,
and
it's
they're
like,
starting to use it now, and they haven't, they're not even old enough to get into a university or to take a job. They start learning AI, and by the time they get out into the workforce, just imagine what they'll be capable of achieving. It's not about replacing people. It's
yeah,
about, collaborating with
yeah.
people, the technology.
That
And
that would,
it's going to be really
yeah.
interesting to watch. Yeah.
You mentioned,
Um,
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, no, that it's interesting because we spoke about Industry 5.0 last week.
Mm,
There was the collaboration between technology and the human being, not against each other. It's a collaboration and integration of both to achieve more efficiently, and with less friction.
yeah, that's right. And this is going to be, quite a leap
Yeah.
ahead. I'll just give you a quick example or two, right? Of
Yes,
of
please. Yeah.
what is it's one thing to describe it. Yeah. Now, understand that I'm not going to be showing the what's going on in the background with the database,
Yeah.
but understand that it's not taking the place of data entry. It's a layer on top. It's
Right.
doing data entry.
Yeah.
It's hybrid generative AI. It's creating records. It's creating data.
Yeah.
It's creating appointments, work orders, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's generating reports, et cetera, in the background. But in the engagement model, until you want to see something
Yeah.
else, right? It's basically a conversation, right?
Right. Do you have
So
something to show?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it,
I'll just have a quick conversation with Trinity
right.
right now.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Trinity, uh, show me our top compliance risks this quarter.
Certainly. Your top three risks this quarter are vendor compliance, overdue internal audits, and some asset maintenance gaps. Vendor scores have dropped by about 18%, and you've got two audits overdue.
Could we schedule a new audit for vendor X next week?
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and schedule a new audit for vendor X next week. I'll set it for Tuesday, September 10th, and Jan from compliance will be assigned and notified.
Thank you. Can you approve the purchase order for the 15 laptops that I saw?
Absolutely. I'll approve that purchase order for the 15 laptops. So that's purchase order 473, approved for 12,500, and I'll let procurement know right away.
How about generating me a 12-week improvement plan based on our current risk profile?
Absolutely. I'll put together that 12-week improvement plan for you based on your current risk profile. We'll focus on vendor compliance in the first few weeks, then audit recovery, and finally asset maintenance. And if you'd like, I can export it right into your task board.
Thank you very much. Can you show me overdue maintenance tasks and mark them as priority?
Of course, I'll pull up those overdue maintenance tasks and mark them as priority for you. There are 12 tasks in total, and I'll also reassign the three most urgent ones to the rapid response team. Let me know if there's anything else.
Yeah. Give me a quick financial health summary.
Absolutely. Here's a quick financial health summary for you. Revenue is up by about 6% this quarter, operating costs are stable, and your net margin improved by 1.2%. The biggest expense variance is in IT infrastructure upgrades. Let me know if you need more details.
No, thank you. That'll be fine. So
You're very
Wow.
welcome. I'm glad we could run through that. If you need anything else,
yeah, it's that just as a demonstration, right? That
Just
would
I
be,
can I infer a second? I say I can imagine the hours that is only the last 3 minutes it will take a team to put all that together. And you say that is this like that just
yeah.
given that actually the people are diligent logging all the information. It could be like phone pictures, whatever is verbally. So given that a
Well,
company is diligent and accurate in the data entry, this is a level of accuracy that this model can
but the data
achieve
entry is
infinity.
also going to be embraced by the conversational model.
All right.
Say, okay, think of
So
it like
it's
a
like a
wizard that's going,
retrofit loop.
yeah, think of, when you're creating like a purchase request,
Yeah.
okay, something along those lines. Let's say you took a picture of a stock item and said, can you raise a purchase request? I need 15 more of these,
Right. Right.
right? Okay. And say one of the requirements of a purchase request in your system was that you had to choose a catalog item from a known supplier. You
Yeah.
don't just request it or something
Yeah.
along those lines. The next stage is to select a supplier, that kind of stuff. Now you could insist that in the workflow that happens when you make the request,
Right.
or it could go to another stage for a buyer to do the selection of the supplier, right? But let's just assume that a purchase request requires a supplier. The
Right.
AI
Right.
is going to know that. It's going to say, well, these are your supplier options, A, B, C, D. This is your preferred supplier that
Right.
we've had over the last year, and this is the one, or something along. This one is under contract, so we have to select this supplier. This is their price, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of an
Right.
idea
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it's going to be workflow aware. It's going to know what validations of data are required. It can ask you a question, and it's basically transcribing the data that you dictate
Yeah.
into text. It also has a scrubbing mechanism, right? Whereby it's going to make sure that grammar is correct and that,
Right. Right.
naming conventions are maintained, stuff like that. So it's not about, well, if you're diligent with your data entry, what if that gets wiped out?
Yeah.
What about no more data entry? What about somebody, you're still doing the concept of entering data into a computer system, but you could choose to do it through a conversational model. Now, if you're
Wow.
more comfortable typing, you could just do it through the user interface. But
I'm thinking, by the way, this is absolutely amazing because I'm just thinking in terms of fast adoption, efficiencies, double checks in data entry to avoid errors, data accuracy, a fast onboarding of personnel or people, uh, and not having to transfer to these people month of remember those inductions training that would take like 6 weeks, and they put the 50 people in a room and try to jam all
yeah,
this information in your head before you can perform your work. And I'm thinking all this is already taken into account because actually the history of the company is already recorded in Trinity. You mentioned like
yeah,
a procurement, a contract on place, which is a favor of suppliers, workflows, etc., etc. So I can literally, in brackets, obviously, hit the road running on day one, just having a few questions or conversation related to my performance or my job in a company, having Trinity with this all these capacities. How far
yeah.
I am?
Especially when we're going to have a training mode,
Yeah.
that is going to have your own production data
Mm, mm,
in a test and train environment,
yeah.
but the AI is going to know you're new and is going to walk you through some stuff step by step. Is going to teach you, uh, some trends. It's going to teach you about the company. It's going to teach you what policies you need to abide by. It's going to ask for your compliance or your acceptance of certain policies. So here's the thing is, like a lot of people, they can speak faster than they can type nowadays,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's where the language starts getting messed up and people come up with all sorts of little acronyms. Um, but an AI can listen faster and more accurately than a typical human can.
Right. Right.
So you're not going to get a heck of a lot of loss of quality. It's
Yeah.
just people will have to get used to the engagement. And there are certainly cases where conversational AI engagement is not practical.
Yeah.
There's definitely cases. Um, but the idea of being able to, things are getting uh, so advanced so
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to make sure that our product didn't fall behind and
Yeah.
introduce the concept as the default mechanism for engagement,
Right.
but
Right.
you could always choose as a user that I just want to use the traditional graphical user
Yeah.
interface. That's all I want to use. I'm not ready for, conversational engagement yet.
Yeah.
And but at least it would be there because I believe that it is the future.
Yeah.
And just like the digitally native workforce
Yeah.
expects their business systems to look like Facebook on their phone,
Yeah.
something along those lines. um the newer workforce, the expectations are going to go even beyond that. They're going to
Right.
expect and later on demand that
Yeah.
there be AI engagement to achieve their tasks.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
will
That's
that replace people? No, that's going to make people
yeah.
hyper productive to a degree that people can't really imagine nowadays.
Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah, that's industry 5.0 now.
Yeah,
But
especially when it's
fascinating.
adaptive.
Yeah.
Each AI personality that gets trained up by a particular user, let's just call
Right.
it a session, a long running session for the user. It learns about you. It learns
Yeah.
how to engage with you. You can
Right.
talk
Right.
to it
Right.
as a human. You can give it a name. You can be blunt or you could be, and it will start to engage with you in that manner. I would recommend anybody who's listening to, if they're using something like ChatGPT or whatnot, is to click the little button and give it a try. Give it a try having conversational engagement with the AI.
Right.
You
Right.
don't have to pretend that it's a human being. It's just interesting how comfortable and how quickly you will adapt and how
Yeah.
comfortable it becomes. But
Fascinating.
that's
Yeah.
basically the topic for
Yeah.
today. Is I think
Yeah.
we've gotten up to the point where it's almost like the computer is you know it's intelligent, it's
Yeah.
artificially intelligent, but
Yeah.
it's going to be
Right.
intelligent. What's the next stage when it gets smarter than all of us? Who knows? But
Yeah.
for now, we're embracing AI conversational engagement
Yeah.
as an interface for our business systems, and where it can add value, it will.
Yeah.
Where it's not appropriate, we'll still have the older
Right.
traditional methods, the old-fashioned graphical user
Yeah.
interface.
So the batch processing punch cards to voice engagement is like it's a whole universe in 75 years. It's amazing how much
Yeah, and the
things evolve.
advancements are just
Yeah.
getting,
It's like a hockey
fairly
stick, isn't it?
exponential.
Like lately.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I think that we can wrap up today. Thank you very much, Richard, because actually it's not only a lesson in history, also is a sneak peek in the what's going to happen in around the corner. It's not in the next year, or it's month away.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
just a few months away from launching Trinity 5.
fantastic. Thank you very much, Richard, and we'll catch up on the next call.
Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.